During our first 12-week therapy session, a precious family member experienced the tragic loss of a child. Now, this has got to be one of the worst kinds of pain in the world. It just shouts and screams that life is unfair and life is cruel, and a parent should never have to bury a child. It was heartbreaking to hear the news, and I wanted to be with them, and I was able to travel to be with them. Our family gathered around them to grieve this painful loss together. And as I watched family and friends rally around these shell-shocked parents, it surprised me that the pain felt familiar. I haven't lost a child, but I remember thinking, I recognize this feeling. I know this feeling. And it was just a moment of realization for me that I was grieving. I had lost the marriage I thought I had. I lost the fairy tale I believed in. And I really had lost hope for our future. In her classic book on death and dying, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross presents 5 stages of grief: denial and isolation, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And I remember looking over those in an article online and thinking, I can totally relate to those stages. I see those things in my life, but it's not like a nice linear step 1 through 5 progression. Looking back, I see myself bouncing back and forth between these grief stages like a pinball. Denial was the salve that I slathered on my wounds for 8 years. I would make small strides toward coming to grips with reality and then just go right back into coping with denial. And it was more comfortable to pretend. Denial is probably where I landed more than any of the other steps. Bargaining looked like buying lingerie in a failed attempt to compete with online images, or believing that if I was just prettier or curvier or something more than regular me, that I could fix my husband. Depression was that lead-filled comforter that kept me in bed for too long. And anger was me hiding in the bathroom behind closed doors so I could scream and shout and swear away from little ears. It was finding moments of peace only to blow up again and again. Acceptance, that step 5, was really hard to come by. The beauty in the ashes of my family member's loss was the support and love that surrounded them. In those first few days, in that first week, they were never alone. They were held. They went on to join a support group for families that have lost a child, and they found a community to connect with. My husband and I didn't tell our family what we were facing in our marriage until we had been on the other side for a few years. They're wonderful and they love us, but I'm not sure they would have been able to provide the kind of support that we really needed. Thankfully, I had a sweet, small group of just 3 friends that rallied around me, that cried with me, that prayed with me, that gave me permission to be angry, that to punch a pillow, to throw something. And they ultimately kept me focused forward and committed to the process of recovery. I also found support and solidarity in our group and in the team at A Fair Recovery. A betrayal brings with it incredible loss. So I want to encourage you to take some time to think about what stage of grief you are in or where you bounce to and from. Acknowledge the loss. This is a loss. And then I want you to think, how would you talk to someone who had just lost a loved one? Would you be that gracious, that kind, that gentle, that patient with yourself. Don't walk through the grieving process alone. Find someone who will walk with you.